In 1989, NASA published a study identifying common houseplants that could remove odors from the air and were being considered for use aboard space stations. But the most interesting part wasn't the plants themselves. It was the fact that people had been using them for exactly the same purpose for centuries. Because long before the synthetic fragrance industry existed, before mechanical ventilation, before aerosol sprays, households still had to solve the same basic problem. Cooking smoke, damp winter air, the smell of people living close together through long, sealed-up months, and they solved it, quietly and consistently with plants. Some of those plants still sit on the shelves of ordinary garden centers today, completely unrecognized for what they can actually do. In the 1800s, no proper English drawing room was complete without a row of scented geraniums by the window, but they weren't there to be looked at. Their fragrance was hidden inside the leaves, and only released when someone brushed past them. Rose, lemon, peppermint, apple, or chocolate scented. Victorian gardeners cultivated over 100 distinct varieties, each releasing its own perfume with the lightest touch. Guests walking past a well-planted parlor window left their coats faintly smelling of citrus and rose. Ladies pressed the leaves into their handkerchiefs, cooks folded them into cakes and puddings. The reason is straightforward. The leaves contain microscopic oil glands packed with volatile aromatic compounds that release into the air the moment anything disturbs them. A single mature scented geranium in a small, closed room can perfume the entire space. Quietly, subtly, without anyone ever pointing to the source. But this idea didn't begin in England. It came from something older and far stranger, a garden tradition stretching back thousands of years, built around a single principle. The plants had to bloom at night. In Persia, China, and Mughal, India, walled courtyard gardens were built around a specific observation. Daytime heat carried fragrance away too quickly, but the cool, still air of evening trapped the perfume close to the ground, drifting through open windows and doorways into a room cooled by the night breeze. Jasmine was the queen of that world. Its small white flowers open only after sundown, and the scent they release is so concentrated that perfumers still consider it one of the most powerful fragrances any plant on Earth produces. In Mughal palaces, bedrooms were surrounded by jasmine vines specifically for this purpose. The Chinese court perfumed rice, tea, and clothing with fresh jasmine flowers. Persian gardens were designed around it. There are historical accounts of Mughal palace rooms cooled at night by water channels running along the walls, with jasmine planted directly beside them, so that every breeze crossing the water carried the perfume straight into the sleeping quarters. Modern climate control has replaced the water channels. The plant is exactly the same. A single potted jasmine on a windowsill still does exactly what it did 2,000 years ago, quietly filling a room from dusk onward with a scent no aerosol can imitate. But not every plant was chosen for its smell. One of them stood in Victorian parlors for an entirely different reason, one modern science only measured recently. In 1989, NASA researchers were looking for ways to purify the sealed air inside space stations, where synthetic materials constantly released small amounts of chemicals, formaldehyde and benzene, into the closed environment. Modern homes have exactly the same problem. Furniture, adhesives, carpets, and paint emit the same compounds at low levels, and modern insulation traps them inside. What NASA found surprised them. Certain common houseplants pulled measurable quantities of those chemicals out of the air through their leaves and root systems. One of the best performers was a plant that had already been sitting in Victorian parlors for a century, the Boston fern. The Boston fern doesn't smell like much, but it works the air. It draws in dry indoor air and steadily releases moisture through its fronds, easing the closed-in dryness of winter rooms. And it filters the specific chemicals modern homes emit, the same compounds we routinely mask with sprays, but that a Boston fern simply absorbs and breaks down. Victorian households didn't have the words formaldehyde or off-gassing. They just noticed that rooms with ferns felt easier to breathe in, and kept placing them near sofas, windows, and hallways. 3 centuries of drawing rooms already knew what NASA later measured: a geranium that perfumed a room when someone walked past it, a jasmine that turned an evening bedroom into a garden, a fern that quietly filtered the air long before anyone measured why. None of them required a bottle. None of them needed a power outlet, and none of them stopped working when the industry changed. The plants are still here, unchanged, doing exactly what they've always did. The only thing that disappeared was the habit of reaching for them. That, and the aerosol in a pretty bottle that replaced them. Do you keep any plant in your home just for the scent? Drop its name in the comments. And if there's a problem, habit, or part of everyday life you're curious about, tell me that too. There are still countless old solutions to modern problems hiding in plant lore and household practice.